So today's a great day. Kanye dropped Donda, and I got a little review and comparison for you guys. I got the Yamaha 8-inch sub right here versus the JBL 10-inch sub. Going over the specs of these subs, the features you get, the performance, and if they're worth the price, and my favorite out of these two. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching. So quick overview of these subs. We got the Yamaha first. That one's gonna come in at $479.99. It's gonna have 150 watts of power, and the frequency response is gonna play from 22 Hertz at -10 dB below baseline to 150 Hertz. And then we got the JBL sub, and that one's gonna come in at $419. That one's gonna have 200 watts, and that one's gonna play from 27 Hertz to 150 Hertz. This is how these two look stacked up on top of each other. I don't know if you can see in camera, but the Yamaha sub is way smaller than the JBL sub. This JBL sub is massive. Okay, maybe that helps now. Now you can see how absolutely massive the JBL one is compared to the Yamaha. So this does have a 8-inch woofer, so that's the reason why. And this has a 10-inch woofer. So looking at the back here, I'm gonna start with the Yamaha and show you the inputs on the back. I will say right off the bat, the Yamaha comes with way more functionality. By way more, I only mean this crossover right here, which is super helpful. It'll let you go down to 80 Hertz or 120. And you can adjust your monitors and then the sub separately. And this is useful if you have room modes and you don't want to add a bunch of sub digitally. You can just do it analog. Got the JBL over here. This one doesn't have too much. Just a volume level, some +4, -10 dB. Then we have a standard crossover right here of 80 Hertz. It then has this little XLF, extended low frequency thing. That, I think it raised the crossover to 100 and it did some weird stuff and it boosted the low end. So I wouldn't use that. And that has external crossover, which nobody's gonna use, to be honest. I don't know if I'm the only one who does this with speakers, but I always knock on the box to see the integrity of the box. Because usually a heavier speaker means a more well-built box. So when I knock on the Yamaha here, it rings. It's not these, what's it called? Coolant things, what's it called? Heat. But it's actually the grill that is covering the 8-inch woofer at the bottom. This guy over here, pretty solid. No resonances. Cool. Looking at the front here, the Yamaha has this standard port looking thing right here. But this has some kind of slip design port. Kind of has a weird shape inside the box as well. And I didn't notice really too much chuffing unless you really push them. They both definitely have it, but you got to push it all the way to hear it. Looking at the feet of these guys, may not be important to you, but it is to me. These got these little legs on them, decent squishy pads. And the JBL has about the same thing. These are a little more stiff. Keep it from running away when you're playing it at loud volumes. So here is the Yamaha sub, and here's the grill I was talking about that was ringing earlier. I don't know if you can hear that. Let me get closer a little bit. So I don't know if people take that off. I guess I would do it if this was my sub, but I'm not gonna do it now. So there's that one. And the JBL sub is uncovered. Here it is in all its glory. Has a pretty solid surround, so you know it can have a lot of excursion. Can't really see this Yamaha one, but it looks pretty thick, real thick.
Left speaker done. Right speaker done. Measurements in progress. Stay where you are. Measurements in progress.
Alright guys, before I give you the verdict, I just want to let you guys know where I stand in the subwoofer and sound world. I'm not just a studio rat that sits here at the desk all day. I actually work as a live engineer for the past 3 to 4 years, 4 years. And I've heard of many subwoofers, massive ones, line array ones, and I've tuned a bunch of ones. And I know how important the room is with subwoofers. They completely sound different in one room to the another. When they're outside, they can be hidden. When you're inside, you can not even know if they're on or not. So that's just how subwoofers are. And when you're considering buying a sub for your studio, keep that in mind, that your room is going to play a huge part in how they sound. Both these subwoofers, when I put them somewhere else, they sound better in bigger rooms. But this is the studio I'm in, and it's a decent size. And I'm just going to use what I can in this room and tune it. So first off, I want to say, if I didn't have SonarWorks, I probably would not be using a sub in this room. As you can see by the measurements, there's a massive dip at like 60 hertz, and that is very audible. So without SonarWorks, I definitely would not use a sub. So what's the verdict of this review after all this testing and nonsense? So I personally own this JBL sub for about 3 years now. And when I first got it, it definitely blew me away. It extends super low. I don't know why they took the measurements down, but before the measurements used to say around like it plays down to 26 hertz. And I can definitely attest to that. It plays super low. It will rattle everything in your room. And as far as this Yamaha sub, they list it at playing down to 23 hertz, which is 100% cap. It does not play down to 23 hertz. And it might be in an anechoic chamber. Another thing they listed is it plays down to 23 hertz at negative 10 dB, which a lot of people don't understand, you know. So I've even had someone comment on a video like, man, how are you talking bad about the Yamaha sub? It plays down to 23 hertz. That thing's a beast. I was like, man, listen, you gotta listen to this. So what that negative 10 dB means, at baseline, sub's playing like this, and it starts to roll off, you know, maybe let's say 30 hertz, right? Sorry. 30 hertz. By the time it reaches off that slope, 23 hertz is at negative 10 dB, which is a huge like decline. Like it's barely audible at that point, you know what I'm saying? So there's no point even listing that without it being a gimmick, I would say. So that should say something for itself from Yamaha. And JBL, the JBL sub does play very low in my studio. And I've also used it with my home theater, and I watched Batman on this thing, and it was shaking the room so low, like you could feel it in your chest. I was amazed that this 10-inch sub was, you know, hitting that low. So I have nothing but positives to say about the JBL. The only thing I would say is that it is a 10-inch woofer versus an 8-inch. So the 8-inch is definitely going to play a little bit quicker at low volumes, just because it's a smaller cone. It could move air faster, which in a sense will give you maybe more punch. So let's talk about this Yamaha sub now. The positives on this Yamaha sub, the crossover, I love that part about it. And I really wish the JBL had it, but it doesn't, so that's all right. The Yamaha does cost more. So it definitely is a smaller package, where some people might find valuable. It's pretty heavy, it packs a punch, but it does not hit low. Like when I buy a sub, I want it to extend my low end. I don't want it to just, you know, boom at 50, 60 hertz, which I find with this Yamaha sub. In all the studios I've used it in, I've never liked it. I hate to say it, but I just never liked the sub. And it's just never did it for me. I can't be confident mixing on it, in my opinion. It might be better paired with other speakers. I've only used it paired with Adams and some HS5s for a little bit. But otherwise, to me, the Yamaha plays the high end of the bass 80 to 100 hertz well, but it doesn't have a lot of output. See, the JBL has a lot of output, and headroom is a big thing when you're mixing. You want to hear those transients pop. You want to hear that kick punch. If you're, listening at high volumes, the Yamaha's not going to do it. It's going to start choking on you and compressing, and you're definitely going to hear that. So basically, to sum it up for you guys, I find better value in the JBL. If you have the room for it, it's a pretty substantial size, so consider that. The Yamaha is a tighter package. It's not going to play as low for you, no matter what the measurements are saying there. It's just not going to play as low for you, unless you're in a bigger room that can accommodate that. And the Yamaha has a cool crossovers. The JBL doesn't. But I'm going to give it to the JBL. Just going to take the win on this one. I personally bought that JBL 3 years ago for used for $200, which is a great deal. I'd do that any day. My friend bought this Yamaha for $200, I think, too, as well. And that's a pretty good discount. And if you could buy any of these used for $200, that's a great value. For around $500 for the Yamaha, I wouldn't do it. So that's just my review on these subwoofers here for the studio. I hope you guys enjoy, and like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.